Four Roses is putting all their recipes out in this single bottle variety. So it's time to have a recipe battle here on Drams for Dummies, starting with the OBSV, the OG of the single barrels. Let's see how it stacks up and get this party started. Hello and welcome back to Drams for Dummies. I, of course, am the King Dummy, Brett, and excited to do a new thing here. If you know, you know. Four Roses, they've had the single barrel. They've got store picks of different varieties that happen, but for a long while, their single barrel in-store selection was the OBSV recipe, and it's a great bottle for the price. I think the packaging is great. I've always appreciated the bottle. I liked it better when it had the little leather neck around the top. Now we've gone to the paper, but still cool packaging, cool like embellishment in the glass, cool cork, cool stopper, whatever. But I think that they recognized. I think they made a brilliant decision, actually, from a money-making standpoint. They are starting to release all of their recipes in this single bottle format. These single bottles are 100 proof. They're in the 7 to 9 a year age range. And now that they are going to release them all, it kind of becomes a collector game, right? And catch them all kind of thing. And there's 10 different recipes. So at around 50-ish dollars a bottle, they can get $500 from me and others like me without even thinking about it, when I never ever would pay $500 for one bottle or $400 or $300. So let's just put, fairly basic. 79 years is that's a nice age range. 100 proof's fine. But let's put our fairly basic juice. Let's just do all these different recipes and make it a kind of a collector game. And let's make $500 times however many hundreds of thousands of people do that versus putting out some crazy rare bottle at $200 or $300, and whatever, right? So I like that they've done this. It's more accessible to everybody. And it made me go, you know what? I think we need to rate and score each recipe. And again, old me would have laid them out. I have 3 right now. I got this one and 2 others. And but I'm just going to do quick little episodes for each recipe as I get them, and then shoot them out. And then at some point, there'll either be a very clear ranking of them, or it's very possible we may have some ties. If there's ties in those top 3 or 4, then I will do an episode where I'll blind the top tied bottles to determine the final ultimate dummy ranking of the Four Roses recipes. So again, you may already know this, but they've got these 4 letters. They're always going to have to start with an O because the O designates that it's Four Roses. So that's basic. The second letter is either a B or an E. The B is their higher rye mash bill. Took some notes to help me cheat here. That's going to be 60% corn, 35% rye, 5% barley. So if it's an OB, you got your high rye. If it's OE, it's your lower rye, and that's 75% corn, 20% rye, 5% malted barley. So there's your 2 things right there. So it's always we're really looking at the second and the fourth letter, because the third letter is always going to be an S for straight distillation. So kind of like it's one of those overcomplicated things, like the O and the S are constant. So really, we're looking at the second and the fourth letter. So we either got a BE in the second position, or we have the K, Q, O, F, or V in the fourth position, and that's going to be the yeast strains. They have 5 different yeast strains they use. You can find different tasting notes. They provide themselves some notes on some of those yeast strains. Again, being a dummy like I am, I don't want to have anything. I kind of only want to remember that I've got the B or the E in my hand, so I don't high rye, low rye, and I don't really want to know what people are saying each yeast strain is supposed to do in the glass. I really just want to take these in a vacuum, tell you my quick thoughts, tell you what I think about them, and then we'll just kind of go from there. And it will just have this, and then I'll end up with at some point 10 bottles of these things that I need to figure out what to do with. But that's a different problem for a different day. All right, diving in. Let's give this a swirl and twirl. Agitate it, get some air in it. Roll it up on the old sides. I'm going to start with a quick sip because the sip will kind of wake up the nose. Actually, I'm going to do a whiff and sniff. So, bright, 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 bright. Hot, spicy. But first drink of the day, can't judge anything off that. Plus, now the olfactories and the taste butteries are all kind of aligned. So now we can give a more honest appraisal of what's going on here. So, nose time. Very bright and fruity. Not a lot of complexity or depth in the initial nose. It's nice, but this to me is like this is a summer bourbon. This is bright and a little bit of spice in there. This is the OBSV, so this is the higher rye. There definitely is that rye spice in there. As I keep nosing it, gets a little bit more of the caramels, a little bit more of the depth comes out. It's nice. It's starting to kind of get a little bit more depth as I keep going back to it. Getting better. This again is the recipe that they've put on the shelf for everybody to grab in their liquor stores as the single bottle expression for a long while. I don't know if it's been years or decades. I don't know. But I think it's only been a fairly short time that they kind of locked into the OBSV. So I guess that's Four Roses telling you in their mind maybe that the OBSV is kind of if you're going to pick one recipe, is the most representative of the Four Roses brand. I mean, you would think that since they've been using it as their single barrel recipe. Again, a little bit of warmth, a little bit more spinning, a little bit more time, getting the nose kind of lined up. That initial bright punchiness is calming down. It's getting more subtle. It's getting more well-rounded. Yeah. More of the brown sugars, so we're kind of past even that light caramel. We're getting into more of the richer kind of sugar. But super fruity. I like it. I got my new scoring system. I should have torn the page out. I forgot to, but I don't need to for this. I know where this is going to live. I'm going to go with a good nose. It's a 7 on the nose. Nothing exemplary, nothing like over the top, nothing wowing. But it's good, and it gets better every sniff, and I like that. If it changes a little bit over time, if it's not the exact same, that kind of conveys some complexity, which is probably where the 7 to 9 years maybe comes from. So I like that a lot. 7, though, it's good nose. All right, tasty time. It's 100 proof. It drinks like 100 proof. There's not a lot of ride in there. There's not a lot of zigging and zagging in the mouth. It sort of just kind of gets in there, sets what it's going to do, rolls on down the road. It's not doing anything crazy. It's not. It's nice. It's solid. Not spectacular on the first drink there. Let me give it another go here and see. It doesn't give me a lot. It's not it's just kind of giving me basic bourbon, everyday, average, maybe a little above average flavor. I think on the palate for me, I'm just going to go 5. I'm going to go with an average palate. It's just kind of tastes like bourbon, kind of watery bourbon, kind of not doing a whole lot bourbon, not exciting to drink, not offensive to drink, just just tastes basic, and that's not exciting. So hopefully the other two recipes can give me a little bit more something in the palate, and we'll get better scores. So right now I'm going to say that if OBSV is the best in the batch, I'm going to be real mad at the end of $500. But here's the finish. That's me summarizing in the middle again. Okay. More of the same, I think, kind of from the palate. I feel like the front end of the finish, whether you want to, it's hard to differentiate. Back end of palate is better than the majority of palate. Front end, start of the finish, kind of feels like it's got a little something happening. And you're like, okay, there's something good there. And then very quickly kind of waters out, kind of dissipates, kind of goes away, and then kind of back the finale of the finish is a little bit just a little astringent, a little not great. I get to give that a 5 too. Tempted to dip down to the 4 maybe. The not my jam, but it's not it's not something I would turn away from and say I don't really want to drink that anymore. It's just it's fine. So that our final scores of the OBSV first recipe of the 10 recipe challenge. What am I calling it? The recipe battle. Whatever. That's not catchy. Recipe row. I don't know. Anyway, 7 on the nose. Good nose. Average palate. Average finish. That is a 12. That is a 17 total score. Is a 5.7. We would round that up to a 6. And this initial, it sits on your shelves all the time, OBSV 4 Roses single barrel is a pretty good bottle. Pretty good. When you factor in value for $50, I still think it's just pretty good. I don't think the price point does it any favors or hurts it. It's just, yeah, okay, that's fine, whatever. I personally know that for $50 I can find things that I like more, that trip more of my triggers than this one. So after I drink this and the 10 other bottles of single barrel 4 Roses, would I go and consciously buy another one of these? Nah, probably not. I guess that's another thing to say here on the conclusion is it is a single barrel product. So I've had one of these back in the day that really surprised me and really was more rich and had more depth in it than I expected. This is what I feel like I've had more often than not from this product. So this doesn't surprise me too much. But again, 5.7 by the hairs on its chinny chin. We round that to a pretty good bottle versus rounding down to an average bottle. It's right in that range, average to pretty good. Guys, thank you so much. Round 1 of the 4 Roses recipe battle is in the books. And so far, this one's in first place. Thank you, guys. Love what you're doing. Like and subscribe. If you're liking any of this dummy content and you like that someone's speaking your language, and by language, I mean not saying anything intelligent or knowledgeable at all, and just rambling about booze. Bye.